Baltimore. Go
Happy New Year, guys! This is the start of the podcast for 2023. Sorry, I had to cut somebody off.
Happy New Year. We wish you a Happy New Year. We wish you a Happy New Year. and a happy new year. Good tidings to you from Game Hunter and Spear. Good tidings for Avarice, who's going to take over Aravos, who's going to take over the world.
Are you done?
Do you want me to be? I can keep making stuff up if you want.
Okay, this is an interesting podcast we got here. We're gonna be talking about Dragon Prince episodes 5 and 6. We've been trying to get to these for the past couple episodes. Also, anybody who's probably subscribed to our podcast noticed that 3 episodes got thrown at you all in one day. That's what happens when you're me and you don't get these episodes out on time. So I just called that the triple threat for that day. So you got 2 episodes with just me in it, and then 1 episode where Spiro came back. So I hope to not have that happen again. No promises.
Spear came back, and there's gonna be some trouble. Hey la, Spear is back. He's on the call. Inappropriate jokes are on the double. Hey la,
gotta release this one.
Yeah, he's gonna be real awkward. Do 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 do. Oh, boop boo doo doo. Wait and see.
We're starting out the new year with 2 episodes from Dragon Prince in the order I've been watching them. I had like 1 more episode to watch from this, but I actually had not watched it yet, and I intended to during my vacation, but I decided, okay, why not just wait and go through them all in order and then watch that last one and be super surprised when I do watch it. I guess we're gonna start off episode 5 with Dragon Prince. Let me get his notes up because I have those somewhere. All right. Well, didn't read that until just now. Well, I guess we're gonna start off with a reference to Sokka from Avatar. I honestly didn't even pick up on that. I don't know when he did this in Avatar, but at the top of the tower, while Rayla and I guess we can start here. On the top of the tower, it's after they send I never remember this guy's name. The elf that died with
Terry? No,
Terry didn't die. I mean, some people probably wish he would die, but he didn't die.
Terry's annoying.
I don't think he's that
I have
bad.
it in my notes somewhere, but I can't remember where. But the Sky Elf mage that is allied.
He's a Sky Elf. I just want to make sure that's what he was. Okay. The Sky Elf, they had a little funeral, sent him off, quote unquote, as a bunch of birds, because Callum used the spell that is almost like, I know her name. Tip my tongue.
Claudia?
Zim's mother.
Okay, the Dragon Queen.
It's Dragon Queen gave Callum the spell to send him off. That was kind of cool. I guess this is how they typically send off magical creatures. I guess they return them back to nature, kind of.
Or they burn them and have a sacred fire run all night and flip out if someone turns it off.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, sorry.
You actually helped me remember that because I do want to talk about that. But they send him off. He turns into a bunch of birds. Haha. Then we have the obligatory Sokka reference from Avatar when Callum and Rayla were having a little moment. Callum's crying, obviously because Rayla had left him for 2 years. They hammer this point in this episode. It's ridiculous. But he just I should know his name, but I don't. Soren. I just saw his name on your paper and it's like, okay, Soren. I guess I thought he was referring to he did this in another season, but I'm guessing that was a reference to Sokka from Avatar. Is what that was? Mm-hmm. Because I was trying to remember because I was thinking, did he do this in another season? I just don't remember. Okay.
I believe this episode had 2 clapbacks to Avatar, The Last Airbender.
That's cool considering who made the show, but still, that's really cool that they actually. I wonder if that means that Soren's voice actor was Sokka.
It is.
Oh, okay. I was
Mm-hmm.
sure if he came back or not. Okay. Uh, that's
You
even
didn't know
more.
that?
Okay, that's even more serendipitous. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware. I was trying. I was actually racking my brains like, has he done this before? Has he not done this before? Is the same season? Or is
Oh,
season before it?
100%.
I was like, okay.
Jesse says I'm really. Jesse says I'm really good at identifying voice actors. I catch them all the time and say that's the guy from so and so.
I've
And
gotten somewhat better over the years, but I'm not. It sometimes takes me looking a character's voice actor up to see. Oh, that's why it's something familiar. That's cool.
no, like, have you ever seen Castle in the Sky?
I think I have that DVD over here somewhere. Yeah, yes, I have. Wait.
Remember the villain in Castle of the Sky?
Oh no, I don't have that DVD. And no, I have. I guess I haven't seen it. I'm thinking about Howl's Moving Castle. Never mind.
Mm-mm. No, I mean Castle in the Sky. If you haven't seen it, it's one of my probably 3 or 4 favorite Miyazaki movies. It might be
I need
my favorite.
I need to get back on my Miyazaki movie collecting grind. I haven't been on it recently.
No, I think Howl's is probably my favorite, but Castle in the Sky is way up there, and it's very similar in quality to to Howl's.
I like
Anyway,
Miyazaki. I like Miyazaki movies. I'm just saying I got to get back on my grind of collecting them. There was a
anyway,
point.
the main villain voice actor in Castle in the Sky is Mark Hamill, who also plays the '90s animated Joker voice and Luke Skywalker.
Mark freaking Hamill. Every day I learn something new about this guy. He has range.
Yeah, he does. But I picked up there's a laugh that he does in Castle of the Sky later in the movie, and it sounds too much like his laugh when he was voice acting the Joker, and I had to stop and recognize that and appreciate it because it's very, very similar. Incidentally, the robots guarding the dragon's door in this feel very, very much like the robot from Castle in the Sky. I'll have to send you a picture to show you, but especially the way it has moss growing on it and stuff. Very reminiscent. Maybe not identical, but very, very reminiscent. Like it's hard to say it wasn't inspired. There's all sorts of references in this.
I don't like this. I don't like the pointing out and something was inspired because a lot of times people accidentally do things in their creative process and they never seen whatever
it could be accidental, but this is so like Howl's Moving Castle is about an abandoned castle, like an empty castle in the sky that had a lot of lost technology and is completely overgrown with trees, but at the same time is representative of technology that you could never possibly.
I think yes, at least the wrong name of the movie you're talking about.
I'm sorry, Castle in the Sky is about what I just said, and if you look at the moss grown, like the way the moss are growing on those guys and their sort of overall look, it's not. I mean, the other thing that reminds me of is the Garudas from Legend of Zelda.
I just kept on seeing a Darunia specifically from Breath of the Wild, and before anybody says that this is impossible, that was probably the design choice they went with. Breath of the Wild came out before they even made season 4, and I'm pretty sure that Breath of the Wild came out when they were probably making season 4. So there's a good chance. Also, I'm pretty sure that the crystals on them represent, I guess, whatever magic was used to bring them to life. Yeah, Darunia. Even though he's dead according right now in LZ, unless they're planning to bring him back in the sequel, I have no idea what they're doing in the sequel, and I'm very excited for that game. But back on
so
topic.
I said Garudas, but I meant Gorons.
But that's Darunia. That's Darunia. Specifically, that's Darunia. I keep forgetting his name, but him and specifically, and you talking about Gerudos, crap. Urbosa.
Can I point out that
I keep
Castle in the
his name.
Sky? In Castle in the Sky, the area is powered by crystals as well. The whole island is being held up by crystal, and the crystals are like the thing that powers the castle.
I mean, I don't think the crystals are really. I mean, well, they're powering them, but I don't think the crystals are powering anything else in this place. I could be wrong. I don't think they're. I know there was crystals in that puzzle, but I don't know if they were powering that area or not.
And there's also a crystal cave in Castle in the Sky too. That they visit before they go to the castle.
Note to self: get back on that Studio Ghibli movie collecting grind. Well, at least the ones that I can find. I'm not gonna make an effort to collect every single one of them.
So check out images of the crystal cave and Castle in the Sky that I'm showing you. I mean, how do you say that's nothing? Nothing like Castle. I mean, how do you say they're not even remotely inspired? You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, some people like they just make things that they don't know if they've made something before. I mean, it
Yeah,
existed
I've
before.
done
I
that
just I
too.
can't.
Especially,
I don't want to say
I've
that
done
they
that too.
watched it. I mean, they are Asian Americans, I believe, is what these people are. So maybe they are or aware of Studio Ghibli and they have watched his movies. I'm not saying they haven't. I just say I don't like slapping. This was inspired by such and such a lot of times because there's a good chance that they didn't. There's also a good chance that
Let
they
me
did.
ask you this: do you think the series is this and Avatar? Do you think they're inspired a little, at least in part, by anime?
Well, yeah, obviously, but I don't want to specifically sit there and name something out there and say this is what inspired that. I feel like you're walking
I
into
know, if they're
very
at least in part
dangerous
still inspired by
territory.
anime, then it stands to reason that there's some overlap there where you can say, you know what, this guy looks a lot like that guy from Legend of Zelda. The guy on the left has a very strong resemblance. Both of them do, and what they're made out of too, and the fact that he's covered in moss have a lot to say about the fact that they could be a callback to Miyazaki, who's like arguably the most famous movie animator of the anime like genre entirely.
I mean, I know you're saying it, and I apologize for saying I just don't like doing that because that's territory because you don't know these people, and I don't want to say that this is Sometimes I've actually done that before where I said this was done inspired by something, but apparently the creator says they've never seen it. Now I guess the other side of that poll is they're probably lying. They're probably not going to come out and just tell you that they've seen this, but I trust that they're saying the right thing. I don't want to. I mean, it's a for me it's a tightrope, and I don't want to just fall off of it.
Mhm.
I'm looking to see if there's any reference to them saying at least one of them is saying that maybe they've watched. This is really weird, but apparently one of the co-creators of Wonderstrom, the company that made this show, was apparently behind Futurama. Weird, but
I think Futurama did a parody of that episode, that movie that we were talking about, the
I
Castle
guess
in
well
the
he was
Sky.
the co-creator and producer of Last Airbender. Okay. And he's the co-creator of the Netflix. Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right person. Probably look into if there's anything here that even mentions that. It's not here. I mean, I understand where you're going, and I can see some of the similarities. I mean, Crown, I literally just said that guy looks like Daruni. But I'm not gonna sit there and just say that, just 100% not. I just don't want to, because, like,
I must be extremely correct if you're actually going to admit that I have a point. That's like the farthest I've ever gotten you along. I don't think I've ever had you say that I might have had a point. I think Game Hunter hung up.
no, I'm here. I'm just looking for some. Okay, I have found at least this one guy. Can I find the other guy who behind it? Because he looks American. I know one of them is. I think he was born in an Asian country. I'm trying to look for him specifically.
All I know for sure is none of the voice actors have any nude photos.
What?
I didn't say it.
I don't know what you said.
I didn't say anything.
I don't believe you. There's nothing. Maybe it's in the Dragon Prince thing. Hold up. Maybe it's just. I know it's. They've said that they were inspired by anime, but they never made any effort to explain which ones. I think even Dragon Ball Z came up at one point, but I'm not sure. Again, I don't want to like say this inspired that specifically. I can openly put an open blanket on anime definitely inspired them, but I don't want to say specifics. That's to me, that's walking territory I don't want to walk.
Are you walking on sunshine?
I wish at this point because I'm walking on eggshells.
Whoa, does it feel good? Hey, all right now sing with me. Doesn't feel good. No,
you're not gonna get me to sing. Just letting you know right now. You'll never, ever.
You know,
there is no clip on the internet where I'm singing.
10 days, it's my birthday.
10 days.
Are you gonna sing happy birthday to me on my birthday?
No, I will definitely say happy birthday in chat. You know you get that from me. You were born January 12th?
My birthday gift. I want you to sing happy birthday to me on the podcast. You can do it now if you want to get it over with.
How about I get you a card and you just singing?
If you give me a card, you'll have to give me your address.
No, there's stuff online. I can. You're never gonna give me a sing. That sounds really rude. I'm so sorry.
Wait a minute. What, am I not safe now? Is that what you're trying to say?
Wait, what?
You're like, you're never getting my address. I see how it is.
No, that wasn't that. I wasn't even thinking about that. Okay, I can't find any information. It's a blanket statement. They've been inspired by anime. I mean, the Crystal Cave. It maybe. I guess maybe there could be all kinds of different like other shows they've seen that could have probably taken inspiration from here. So maybe this blanket statement of anime. Now the Darunia thing, I have a feeling that one of them is Play Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, I would say that Legend of Zelda is probably more popular than Miyazaki, but I don't think it's by a ton. What do you think?
I don't. In the gaming sphere, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, but in the gaming sphere, absolutely. But like,
I don't know. Like, I don't know if you could take Legend of Zelda. No, I'm pretty sure Legend of Zelda is a really recognizable property. That's nowhere even to be discussed. But then again, there's a lot of people who are famous who have come out recently with playing video games, and specifically Nintendo games. You know, as a particular. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. I guess you could make that argument. I just saw your time. I'm just typing here to distract Game Hunter from his train of thought. I just saw that. I don't know when that popped up in the chat. I'm glad I got my train of thought out before I saw that.
I was hoping it would come like in the heat of a debate, and then like you'd get completely thrown off, and I'd win the debate.
So I guess with that soccer reference out way, I guess to go back.
So yeah, there's at least one more reference I think in my notes of another Sokka like reference that he makes to something. I can't remember if it's in this episode or not, but like they really do call back a lot to that throughout the series. There's a lot of times when I noticed it and it wasn't so obvious that I told you, but there are other times when he pulls it out, and there's other times like where like Jesse and I have like made jokes while we're watching something. Like there was a scene I can't remember exactly which scene now, but like there was a scene where someone like was working really hard on a big bucket of something, and then like they come by and knock it over on the way by, and I'm like, my cabbages.
I think I remember that one. They bring up a boomerang at some point. I don't know if it's this season or. I know that the boomerang coming back thing has been brought up.
Yeah, he says, why does this? He has like a boomerang or something like that, and he's like, why does this feel familiar?
I think it's that one. I will say, I guess if we move on, I do know that Sokka was like. He was like Sokka was like a comeback from behind, like, you know, like you probably liked him, but you didn't pay much attention to him until you had that episode where he forged his own sword and learned how to fight with it, and learned from a fire-bending sword instructor of all people. So now he is from the Water Tribe, and typically they don't like each other, at least in that era of the history of that show. But I think people liked Sokka, and I'm pretty sure that it's probably one of those things where we wanted to include something of Sokka so people who are aware of watching this show, who have watched Avatar, will at least know that, I wonder if that means anything, and maybe they'll look into it and say, oh, wait a minute, that's probably because they did this show.
I know he's the voice of Sokka, but I really feel like Soren has more in common with Sokka than Callum, but whatever. I mean, the two of them have very similar names, and they could sort of be like both be spiritual successors of him, but I mean, Ezra and Aang would definitely hang together very easily. They have nothing to argue about. They're very like similar philosophies on life.
You just kind of got me thinking about Katara and Soren being Sokka, like Katara and his sister. Dang, I forgot the name of Soren's sister. Wow, that's really bad.
Rayla's not that different than Korra. Like there's things.
Kind of interesting. The path that Soren's sister is walking is kind of the path that Katara almost walked when she went to go get revenge and the guy had killed her mother. Unfortunately, fortunately, Katara had Aang to stop her, but
this is a little bit of a stretch for sure. But who is the firebender sister? That's like
Azula.
Azula and Claudia. I'm not going to go so far as to say that they have, that they're not the same character, but the relationship they have with their enemies is very similar, and their tendency to not quite be willing to go so far as to kill them, and the fact that
I don't.
No,
because Azula, like, it wasn't like Azula was ever on friendly terms with anybody. She just liked playing around for the sake of playing around.
Azula's brother was one of the other party, and so is Sokka and Claudia. What? Sokka and Claudia are brother and sister, and Azula, and I can't
Azula
remember
is the sister of dang, I forgot his name. Why am I dropping names? Zuko. Azula's the sister of Zuko.
Azula and Zuko are brother and sister, and so is Claudia and Soren. And Zuko started out as an enemy and went over to the side of good a little faster, of course, than Zuko did, but he did. It's not entirely different. It's different, but it's not entirely different.
I just don't. I really don't compare, because like, I mean, both their personalities are so vastly different. It's like not even, because like I'm trying to think of anything that those two share, and I other than having an older brother, is like, I mean, they're both prodigies with, you know, magic. I guess that's a commonality share.
Well, there's also like, you can't. Azula does unforgivable things, and yet there's a part of her that you almost can imagine would be redeemed. And then also, Azula is completely devoted to her father, as is Claudia.
I guess, but it's like,
Azula does it all for her father.
Azula's just psychotic. I don't think Claudia is like. Claudia is there. Psychotic. I mean, she could probably become psychotic, but I don't think Claudia's there.
Psychotic in a completely different way. You think she's really sweet, and then all of a sudden she like does the most twisted thing you can imagine.
Well, before you can
And
make the
we
you can
were
make the argument she didn't know what she was
even
doing
more
with dark magic
twisted
was
things
killing
off
things,
screen.
but
We're hinted at that she does even more twisted things off screen. So
I
I don't
mean,
know.
she
I
believes
would
what she's
say
doing is good. I mean, honestly, because she doesn't. As far as we know, as far as like where I'm at within the
she
series
doesn't
right
care.
now,
She knows. She says you wouldn't believe the things I've done.
no, what I'm
She's
saying,
my
what I'm saying is that those things that she said she did it for, she did it for love. She did it for, she in her mind, I guess, was rationalizing it as this was ultimately leading to a happier ending. Azula didn't care. She just wanted power. Now, granted, now you can't. Now I'm not saying this isn't gonna be where Claudia ends up. Who the heck knows where she's gonna end up? But from where
They're
I
both kind of like the tool of their father, though. And I think that a big running plot line of this is that Viren starts feeling guilty about that.
yeah, but it's even it's well, I guess like it being worse on the Avatar side is that has no bearing on this. But I mean, yeah, I see it. I just I just don't like comparing Claudia to Azula because oof, Azula is a mental case. Now, I know
Sometimes when you take the
Claudia's
comparison,
got
I
her own
mean,
issues.
Claudia is like the apotheosis of mental case. Claudia is more of a mental case than Azula. Azula is just very like crappy about it.
Are you sure? Because like that episode where Zuko and Katara pinned her down to the ground, that was I consider that a complete just mental breakdown.
Claudia, I mean, Azula has a literal mental breakdown, but like I feel like Claudia like sleeps like a baby at night.
Again, I just like for me it's like I think that like what they're doing is similar, but I think for the reasons are different. Because like Claudia just wants to save her father, and that's basically the basis of everything she's doing is she's trying to save her father. That's all. Like that's all the end goal is. I don't think she knows who Erebos ultimately is. I don't think any of this has been stated to any of them. Actually, if you want to go further in these episodes before we come back, she does get caught by her brother. For whatever reason, and this kind of bugged me a little bit, is that Soren tried. I guess that Soren said that you don't know what you're doing. You're on the wrong side. But he didn't go any further to explain why she was on the wrong side. All he really did was say you're on the wrong side, and both of them don't even at this point don't even know what the other person is doing. So it's like Soren at the time didn't even know his father was alive, and Claudia didn't even know what Erebos' ultimate goal was. All she knows is that Erebos is trying to save her father. Well, I mean, it's going to save her father, quote unquote. Is basically all that she's operating on. She's not operating on that he's the end of the world. Something psychotic
She's also like,
in a
I
really
mean,
weird
she's
way.
also been brainwashed about what the other side's like. She is not willing at all to look at the other side and think that the fairy creatures might be good or worth anything. She's like, they want to kill us. They've always wanted to kill us. They hate us. Like she is brainwashed in a way that a lot of the Fire Nation people were brainwashed in Avatar, like full of like one-sided information and like a denial of like the full picture, and in need of somebody like Iroh to like walk her back out of that.
I mean, yeah, I know the similarities are there. I find it harsh to compare her to Azula, considering the type of character Azula was throughout the course of her introduction, all the way up to her end.
Well, that's because Claudia is cute.
No,
But like Claudia, yeah, she acts cute. She acts bubbly and sweet, and then all of a sudden she does the darkest crap that like has ever been done in any of
honestly, I
the
find Azula more
series.
adorable than her, but that's just a personal
I'm
preference.
talking about like that she acts cutesy, that she's like and stuff like that, not like sexiness. Like she acts like cute and bubbly and sweet and brain dead, and then she like turns out to be the most powerful dark mage that we've ever heard of in this lore.
You say that, but I'm still like, it's still like, I feel like Azula's worse. I don't think Claudia is there yet. And like she is not that far away from it, but at the same time, it's like I don't think she's there yet, and I really don't want to put her there yet.
Did Azula start as
Huh?
bad, or did she kind of like get worse? Didn't she like descend over time though? Like, didn't she start pretty neutral and then like kind of descend?
No, no, no. She when one of the things actually even before her
Well, she
introduction
learned
is
about it. Didn't it?
Zuko mentions that like mentions that like Zulu doesn't like him. I mean, she had like a lot of hatred coming in, and that hatred just got way more and more compact by the end of it. Granted, her
Mhm.
mental breakdown was precipitated by her friends leaving her, but I mean, I think she started out pretty bad when she got in there. I don't think there was, to me, I don't think there was even that episode where she explained kind of why she's the way she is because she can't trust people because they might turn on her. That was supposed to be. I think that was the beach episode too. That was supposed to be like something for you to be sympathetic towards her, but still, like I didn't find it all that sympathetic. It wasn't like she. It never explained if she had a really messed up childhood, all that kind of thing. You can almost assume that she did, but at the same time, it wasn't like I could have turned out different type of like sympathetic. It just like I am who I am type of sympathetic. Like I couldn't just sympathize with what she was doing. I felt bad for her when she lost her mind, but I only felt bad for her at the end of that because you know she lost her marbles. She wasn't all the way there. Even Zuko mentioned it as he was like as he was seeing her, you know, just spit out fire. You know, in the rain, her hair was to show everything about her. She was not herself.
Yeah, she breaks down progressively as
Like
more
she
and more
starts
episodes
off
go on.
really messed up, and then she get. I mean, like, yeah, she kind of gets, but it's like when I remember of her throughout the course of when she was shown, she was a really messed up human being from what I remember, and it kind of just stayed that way. And it just like it's not like she didn't have any right to be on her high horse because she was a prodigy, but it's like to me, she she was evil. I guess not evil, more like
I think Zuko was a prodigy too, and possibly
no, I
in a
don't
lot
think
of
I think
ways.
Zuko mentions that she's a prodigy and he's not.
Well, he believes that, and I think that's a significant character point for him. But I would debate that Zuko is a prodigy and possibly more of a prodigy than she is. But he's misplaced in
But
his scenario, like in the situation that he's been put in.
no, I get that, but doesn't he say that I don't know if this is even stated, but I felt like the main reason why he said that she was a prodigy because she's able to manipulate blue fire. As far well, make and manipulate blue fire. I don't think he ever stated he could or couldn't. But I think that must be because it's how hot fire she could make. Maybe that's what that was. Is that she was able to just make she's able to make really hot fire. Maybe that's why it's
Yeah,
blue.
and that's certainly possible. I just think that um, sorry, I think that Azula. I think that the situation that she grew up with it reflects on her attitude that she was the product of an abusive situation growing up, and that the abusive father pitted them against each other. I think that the that she's had a difficult and to some point a life that you could feel empathetically towards. Um, I think that she could have been saved perhaps in a different situation. Like there was perhaps something there to salvage if she had been in a different had a different set of people. Um, but she was never able to get past how she alienated the people that would potentially care about her because she keeps them afraid of her instead of creating an effective relationship with them. Um, I think she becomes the tool of her father. I think her father doesn't particularly care about her or about his son, Zuko. And I think that Zuko was not put in an environment where his true potential was set to come out. I think he was too peaceful at heart and a little stronger and more stable than her without realizing it. And I think that in the long run, as he realized his potential, like it becomes more and more clear that he's a prodigy as well. That he learns like true firebending, for example. That I think that his firebending turns out to be more powerful than hers, and I think that she has a very difficult time coming to terms with that. So
you could say that, but at the same time, I remember their fight.
To be had with her. I think there's some empathy to be had with Azula. I think that because she came up from like what I would call an abusive situation, and that she was trying to like her best to adapt to an impossibly cruel like life that she was brought up in, and she lived just like her brother did in a life that was like that was built around like gaining her father's acceptance. And I think she was kind of drawn mad by the fact that he did play favorites with her. I think it messed with her a lot more than I think it's easy to admit. I don't know. That's how I feel about it anyway.
You say all this, and I can see it, but at the same time, to me, and this might be a really messed up viewpoint that I just have on characters like that. Typically, unless they show to me, if I see on the screen that it looks like that at any point when they do talk about their past, they show that they regret it. But to me, I didn't see any of that with her at any point where she was kind of being, truthful. Well, not truthful, but being intimate. In terms of like showing, But I don't like the way I am or something like that. Zuko at least had those moments, even with Aang. Even had those moments.
I think the problem was that she needed to be broken down first. I think that if there was another book of Avatar, that she would no longer be allowed to be who she is in her world anymore. I think there'd be no place for her in her current form. I think she'd have to go through some character evolution. I think it's been forced on her at that point. She's not the leader anymore. She's not dead. I think that maybe she comes out of that finally ready to learn. Because everything that she's valued went crashing down around her. The Fire Lord is weak. There's nothing left for her to justify even in her perspective, continuing the way she is.
I get that, but I guess I already made my decision. I just don't like her, and
I don't like her either. But what I'm saying is, like, from a story perspective, there's something there that could be sent over to the path of redemption at that point.
I guess, but I'd just be sitting there like,
there's no option but to grow at this point or fall apart forever. That's all that's left to her is either grow or being or like.
Well, you say all these things. From what I understand, something does happen with her in the comics. Again, a media that I don't have access to, actually. It's funny, I find all these other comics on Walmart, but I have not found one piece of Avatar comics anywhere. I don't know if they're being sold physically or they're online. It's very weird. They show her life after she's in jail. And she helps Zuko out a little bit by telling him about their mother. It's the main thing. Well, that's in the anime.
Wait, they let her out of jail? Huh? They let her out of jail?
No, they talked to her in jail, and they just they might let her out of jail. Like I said, I don't know. I haven't read any of this, and I don't know where you even find this stuff. I might have to just order online if I ever wanted to figure out what happened after the show. There's a lot of comics apparently. There's even comics of the Legend of Korra. What happens after that? Like there are like they do continue the story with them. So something does happen with Azula. Whether it's a path of redemption, I have no idea. And it's just, I guess I shouldn't say like I wouldn't. It's not like I wouldn't like it a redemption path for her. But like I spent most of the show just like, man, she's messed up. It'd be like whiplash just to say, oh, she's a good character. Ow, that hurt.
Think about the writers though, like the people that write these plot lines. Are they the type to have an irredeemable character? That's that complicated. Is it like these people to have an irredeemable character that is also complicated? I don't think so. I think that
Ozai?
I think the Fire Lord is not complicated. I think you can pretty much guess what he's about to do at any given point. But every time they bring a complicated character in, it's because they're telling a story of strength or growth or something like that. So it's inconsistent. I can't think of a complicated character in the series, of any other complicated character in the series of Avatar: The Last Airbender, at least, that doesn't go on to grow in some way. In Korra, there's some more villainous characters that you can justify and say, you know what, that some of these guys aren't going to grow at all. But even then, there's
Do you really believe that they could make Azula grow? Because like honestly, and not saying it's impossible, but I just I think of everything she's done, and granted, you can make the argument, and it's a valid argument. What she's doing is the result of her childhood. But at the same time, it's like it's not like she's stupid. If she I think she even admits that she's being used by her father at some point. I think it's just one of those things. I think her breakdown really had to do with the fact that she couldn't deal with the fact that her father didn't need her anymore, and people around her didn't need her anymore.
All about her father. It was all about her father and pleasing him.
Ella, I mean, yeah, you can make the argument that she's redeemable, but I don't know. I feel like she was just put there to be hated, and unfortunately had the exact opposite effect because people liked her. Same thing with Vegeta. I think Vegeta was just put there to be hated, and the creator apparently has come out at some point saying he does not like Vegeta. It explains half the things he's done to him in the series.
Yeah, well, the creator doesn't like Piccolo either, but
what?
He doesn't like Piccolo.
I think he said the Namekians are his favorite race.
He doesn't like Piccolo.
When has he said this?
I don't remember when. I mean, I watch a lot of podcasts on that stuff. But he said he doesn't like Piccolo, and that's why Piccolo doesn't do better.
I find that kind of hard to believe because it's not like Piccolo's ever gotten he's died several times, but it's like he's not like he's ever gotten kicked in the jewels, like had his arm broken off or slammed into a building. Like,
are you saying Piccolo has never had his arm broken off?
I'm not saying arm broken. I'm just talking about his arm dislocated. I should have said dislocated.
Okay, so I'm apparently exactly wrong. Because it says Toriyama mentioned that Piccolo is his favorite Dragon Ball character.
That's what I remember hearing, is that he liked he liked the Namekians. Like half the reason.
Yeah, apparently couldn't be more wrong.
Apparently, and I want to say this before we go off and actually talk about get caught up on Dragon Prince right now before we go on launch. I'm gonna say this. I forgot. I don't know why I even didn't even bring this up when you said that he hated Piccolo. I should have brought this up. I was like, no. The Namekians are his favorite race. Piccolo, I believe, should be his favorite character. And a lot of this is kind of like, it's not, I mean, you can't make the argument with Dragon Ball, but half the reason why Piccolo was the way he was and he was supposed to be a quote-unquote demon, at the time, he didn't know what he was going to eventually do with Piccolo, or even just the whole idea of his race. Because there's a reason why there's only ever two of them in Dragon Ball, Kami and Piccolo. Well, technically three. Kami, Piccolo, and then Piccolo Jr. But that's the only reason there's only three of them. That's why, if you remember correctly, the people that King Piccolo created were like dinosaurs. He didn't know what they're going to look like. He didn't even know he was going to go out into space, I believe, at the time. So half the choices that were made for Namekians at the time were his placeholders. He didn't know what he was going to be doing.
There was one ambiguously Namekian character I thought too.
What happened?
There's one character that I always thought was ambiguously Namekian, which was in Dragon Ball, which was Drum.
Pycon? Drum? Wait, what?
Drum.
Wait, wasn't he created by King Piccolo?
Right, but doesn't he looks to me ambiguously. Like, I always wondered, because they never.
I think he's supposed to. Technically speaking, he's supposed to be. But is he referred to a demon as a demon?
I don't know. The fandom. I just looked because I've never looked this up before. The fandom says he's a mutated Namekian.
The fandom says a lot of things. They say that Frieza's not a Namekian, but he's a mutated version of his race.
I've heard that too, though. And I think they say that in Dragon Ball's the anime.
No, I don't think they call Frieza a mutant. Dude, I don't remember actually.
Tambourine is also
That's what I was
introducing.
referring to. Those people that those things that come out, and I think Drummond kills Krillin. But these people, these characters that were created, I guess they're calling him a mutated Namekian now. Interesting. But yeah, these are who I was referring to. These particular characters, particular characters, at the time when they were done, they were considered demons because that's kind of what Piccolo referred to himself as. So according to story-wise, they're saying that Piccolo didn't even know he was an alien. So forgetting all that, at the time, what I remember reading was that Toriyama made Piccolo was he was one of his favorite characters, I believe, at the time. He didn't know exactly where he was. I guess he didn't know if he was going to continue past Dragon Ball, so he just kind of put a placeholder, I guess, name down for what Piccolo was. Because at the time, I'm pretty sure he knew he was an alien. But at the time, he just said demon because I didn't know I think he didn't know he was going to come. He was going to go further past with Dragon Ball. We all know he did. So I'm pretty sure that's really what it came down to. Because I was like, Toriyama, I feel like I remember him talking about Piccolo and how he was his favorite character. Now, as far as why he did the things he did to Piccolo, I couldn't tell you.
Not to get even more off topic, but there was another Namekian in Dragon Ball for sure. That was Kami.
I mean, I referred to Kami.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There was I said there was 3 Namekians total in Dragon Ball, and I believe that was just a result of him not knowing what he was going to do past Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, it's not thinking. I don't even think Kami ever knew what he was referred to either. So I don't think he was referred to himself as a god. So I mean, that's as best we can get with him in that show at that time. So I don't think he even knew what he was. But he knew he was an alien, so at least that was covered with Kami, is that he knew he was an alien. Piccolo and Piccolo Jr., well, King Piccolo and then Piccolo Jr. did not know, as far as the story was. So I was like, they just thought they were demons.
And Popo somehow knew, though, didn't he?
Popo? Well, Popo knew that Kami was an alien because he found him in that pod. I don't think he ever found... No, because Piccolo and Kami were one. So I guess it would make sense that Popo would think. Actually, it would make sense if Popo would think that he was also an alien.
It would be like Popo to just know but not ever say anything about it.
Popo's a weird character.
And yeah, I mean, he's a weird character in the actual anime. Never mind, like, his dark other. So, anyway, moving past line 1 of our notes. Sir...
Sorry, I just...
Sir Sparklepuff is what they call that horrible mutant golem creature.
We're gonna move on with this really fast because I don't have much to say. It's a very weird creature. It kind of led to Terry's little science project with the goop that he left behind,
which turns out to be very useful. But yeah, so Sir Sparklepuff is the creature of the chrysalis. Is absolutely not Erebos incarnated, so I'm completely wrong about that. And
actually, speaking of like Erebos reincarnation, I just want to pose a question. I don't know this answer, but I just thought about this. We were under the assumption that Erebos was trying to take over a body. In the real world, we know by this point that where he's at is somewhere in Zadia. Just like a quarantined off spot. I don't know why I was led to believe that he was trying to take over the body, but if he's just somewhere in Zadia, that he can still just when he gets up, he can just walk out when the seal is broken, right? He shouldn't need a body.
We don't. Yeah.
I don't know where the information of where he needed the body came from.
Because I thought maybe he was maybe in like existed only in another plane at this point. That was kind of where my mind was headed with it.
Okay, because I was thinking about that as I was actually rewatching episode 5. I was like, huh. No, I'm thinking about it. Well, at least when we were watching further into the series. We'll get to that later.
Think like Sauron, for example. Sauron, like in Lord of the Rings, like exists in spirit form but doesn't have a body. As an example, like a lot of powerful creatures, especially in like a universe where like made by the creators of such a strong spirit world. It just seemed to me that it was possible that he needed like a corporal form in our dimension because he'd been banished from it. Like that's a fairly typical plot line in stories.
I guess, but we also know that I don't think he was damaged. I think he was just tricked, and they managed to see him away. Isn't that correct? I don't think
He
they
was
fought
not
him.
damaged. He was tricked.
I think they somehow let him in. They led him someplace to be able to seal him away. I thought. I don't think he. Based on what I remember, he didn't do any real fighting at all. He was just a voice in the background. Which is
Erebos?
Yeah, Erebos, which is kind of funny considering his role here since season 1. But I
Yeah,
don't
he's
think
definitely like treating these people like pawns.
Though based on all this information, they're saying he's a really powerful wizard. So it's like I guess you would also make the argument that okay, maybe he did. I don't know. I'm just making assumptions because I haven't seen episode 9 yet. But it's just it's like I don't know. Like I don't know. I guess in my mind because it wasn't just you who thought he needed a corporeal body. I think it was me too. Which is why I'm trying to make sure where I got the information from for my own thoughts. But I guess I'll just let it drop. It doesn't really matter. I mean, if he does need a body, he doesn't need a body.
Very strongly like it seemed to strongly make sense to me that he was seeking a corporeal body.
I think they did. I thought they just not tricked, but I thought he trapped him physically, because it sounds like the wherever he is somewhere in Zadia. Now the whole idea, I didn't even think about a spirit world. I mean, that's still a possibility. But I was like, I feel like it sounds like they physically trapped him somewhere in Zadia. So I guess with that argument, it's like how come has nobody like walked into his or walked across his chamber this entire time? So maybe it is somewhere else. It's just linked physically there in Zadia, but it's someplace else. I guess that makes more sense. Okay, never mind.
There's a lot of reasons that. I mean, he could just need them to rescue him for sure. There's a lot of. I get a lot of like Lord of the Rings vibes from this anyway. Later on, like I don't want to spoil anything, but later on you're going to see something that looks a lot like Mount Doom. If you've watched Lord of the Rings movies, it's like a mountain like volcano that's off in the distance, and it feels like the way that they demonstrate Mount Doom in like Return of the King especially. So like I said, without trying to spoil anything from later in the series, because I know you haven't watched all the way through yet, there's something that looks a lot like Mount Doom later. And I would argue that Sir Sparklepuff has a strong like parallel with Smeagol from Lord of the Rings.
Well, I mean that whole Smeagol thing, I literally thought he was Smeagol when he first showed up, but I watched episodes 1 through 8. I haven't seen 9 yet, so I maybe I've already seen what you're referring to, unless it doesn't show up until episode 9. But
yeah, you might have at that point. I just don't want to ruin anything for you, just in case. I'm trying to be really careful about that.
Smeagol Puff. I think you literally put that down there. It kind of said that while you were looking. We come back to Soren talking with the dragon. I find it funny that like Soren is like on good terms with these dragons and they think he's funny.
Yeah, they think he's literally the court jester.
Something tells me that we're gonna come back later at some point.
Again, another like Sokka like reference. Like Sokka was always like the jokester from their group.
Yeah, it does make sense. A lot of things he's done is just kind of like Sokka. So you literally put Lucia down as the burned villager. I guess we could talk about
well, let's talk about Sokka for one more second here. He's happy to be on the good team. He likes dragons a lot now, and I think that helps him a lot later on when he befriends that wyvern dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like his changed perspective starts shining through a lot more here, and people are starting to intuitively identify him as like a source of positivity, a source of like like whether it's the court gesture kind of character or it's like something else. Like I think he's increasingly being understood as an inherently good character, and I think that's kind of cool. And I think it's going to become increasingly important as he like um inevitably like he's got to come across Claudia again.
I mean, I think a lot of it's not even just Claudia. It's you know his father. I guess we can get a little bit further into the episodes here. I bring
His
up when
father's like weakening, like the father's like evil nature is definitely like being challenged in this. I
yeah
don't think
yeah,
like
but at the same time, Soren is still afraid of him, and we can actually see that when he sees him for the first time after
oh yeah, but Soren
supposedly being
hasn't seen
dead.
him since he's quote unquote come back from the dead either. If he'd known like that, if he'd known that his father has like is not quite the same man anymore, he would still not be thrilled. You know what I mean? But like, there's definitely like, it's definitely not. He's definitely not as unambiguously evil as he once was.
I mean,
He's
that's
softened
kind of what
quite a bit.
happens after you follow a worm in your ear to a war, and then fall to your death literally, and you are dead for 3 years. I feel like that would change you.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's not the case. I'm just saying that like, I think if Soren doesn't know what we as the viewers know about the shift in Viren's like overall mentality, and I think that Soren would have a little less despair and a little bit more hope if he knew that he was very closely connected to this guy and the guy was like going through some sort of evolution like he was, you know.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that I forgot what I think I was on a train of thought. I completely lost it. But Soren as a character, I actually can't really. I actually can't wait to see where he's going. Cause like at first, when he first showed him in the first season, I was kind of weirded out because I think he was a bully to Callum for a little bit there, and then that has changed drastically to being one of his friends. Um, was like I mean, Soren himself has definitely gone through a lot of changes to the point where he at least he knows where he stands. He tries to be funny, and actually makes dragons laugh, which is actually really funny. Now it's like okay, he does befriend a dragon, so it's like it's kind of like with like Sokka's sword. You know, he found something that he was good at. Fortunately for Soren, he's already got the swordsmanship thing down. So he's just learning about the magic world around him that he wasn't, I guess, involved in for a long time.
Dragon's Queen's name is Zubeia, by the way.
Thank you. I think I saw that there. I don't know why I didn't see it earlier. It was right there. It was like if I just looked past Soren is happy, I would see the name right there. But
So you wanted to talk about Lucia?
yeah, okay. I think before like several episodes of the podcast before, you brought up that the realism of what's happening in the real world translating into this show. I when I was watching the events that were well, right now this episode she's getting tried, but before I don't know if I said anything about it. I found it interesting that again the I guess the trope you want to if you can call it that of both sides not listening to each other and information that is crucial to understanding the situation wasn't like
Mhm.
wasn't like presented in a way that you know both sides don't understand where the other side's coming from, and it shows it shows here that like the relationship between humans and elves, even though we knew it was really bad, at first you would think okay maybe they're working towards understanding each other and you know becoming friends. This particular instance, which leads to the trial in this episode, it shows like how
Far off they are.
yeah like it's very it's like it was already shattered, now it's just beyond shattered.
It's
Basically
definitely on its way.
basically if anybody's wondering what I'm talking about, that what leads to the trial in this episode is Lucia dousing the flame, well, the life flame, I should say, be respectful, the life flame of a fireblood elf's mother. It's a ritual that they have where, you know, they dance around the flame to like lead them to the other world, the other you know, to the great beyond.
Nevada. Yep. Is it Nevada or Nirvana?
I think it's Nirvana. I thought you said Nevada, but I laughed. I wasn't sure what I thought I heard. But
I just said that to be a jerk.
But it's a sacred ritual. The lady Lucia, to put more perspective on why she, you know, put the flame out. She was the architect of this camp, and understandably so, she was worried about the flame burning the entire thing down. So she had the right to be concerned. Now, at the same time, she didn't have the right to put out a flame if this flame was a part of some sacred ritual, or, you know, it's the whole idea.
And the way she goes about it is pretty awful.
Huh?
The way she goes about it is pretty damnable. Like, she doesn't just put out the flame; she like mocks them for their stupid.
Yeah,
fire,
I mean, well, she does that before she even like literally puts out his light. Essentially, it's like it's. I know I've seen this type of situation before in other media, but it really puts it in perspective. Like we've already know what the elves are like. We've already seen them. We've been inside their villages for the most part. Not all of them, but for the most part, a lot of them. They're just as normal as any human in that world, but because of the things that they believe, the religion, stuff like that essentially was displayed here. I also want to point out too that I don't know if I said this before, but if it wasn't obvious before, the Fireblood elves appear to be African American. I know I said this before, but like based on what I've just seen here and some of the characters and some of the beliefs that they hold, they're clearly supposed to be like at least based off of African Americans. I'm not sure if it's just them or another race, you know, culture imbued in them. But
it was like something else. I thought the same thing. A lot of their designs also feel like Aztec, or I'm sorry, Mayan, or possibly Aztec. And then there was something else I noticed. I'll have to rewatch some of the later episodes. Something like mixed in. Oh, French. Their accent sounds like just a little bit French, which I thought.
Well, I mean,
weird.
if there's definitely French in there, that leads even more credence because in those countries they do speak French because of the history that happened there. But
I mean, we're not talking about them speaking French. We're talking about them having a French accent. But yeah.
But yeah, that too. I mean, it's just like. I don't know, like when I was watching, and I actually say this specifically because of the older brother and the younger brother and the older sister, the queen and her. I don't know what he's supposed to be, like I guess high mage. How's
it going?
Huh?
Hi Mage. Hi, how's it going?
Dang it. But yeah, to me it seemed like they were clearly trying to sit there and say that okay, well, this is based on Africa. It's probably not all the way for a lot of reasons, but
Wakanda forever. Wakanda forever.
Need to watch that movie.
You can't say it doesn't feel just a little bit Wakanda forever.
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be. I mean,
we cannot allow the outer world to be involved in our troubles.
But essentially, as far as I can tell, it just seemed very, and I get, and the whole idea of like them not respecting, you know, the humans not respecting the elves, you know, way of life, and to put out the fire because you're gonna burn us all down, even though the elf was trying to clearly tell her that he had it under control. He wants to mourn his mother because she lost her life. And as you said before, the way she went about putting out the flame was worse. You know, she definitely did mock him. So I can sit there and say that those burn marks were deserved, you know. Now, did he have to completely lose it and burn her? No, you know, he could have like maybe scared her to back off, maybe, but at the same time, it was like she literally disrespected his religion, I guess is the best way to put it. You know, it's the whole concept of like both sides are angry at each other, but no one knows why. And it it shows here that there's definitely a lot of work to be done between the elves and the humans. And who knows the damage that's going on between the dragons and the humans. Granted, apparently from what we understand, dragons did something to the elves and humans a long time ago that I don't really remember. But there's like a lot of race discrimination going on in this world. And it's interesting to see it play out in something.
Species discrimination, not race.
What?
Species discrimination, not race.
Well, I guess, yeah, species discrimination. It's interesting to see it play out. Yeah, I take that back. Species discrimination, but it's kind of interesting to see it play out here, and it's such a and more interesting to see it play out in such a small situation. Like, I mean, not to make light of that elf's, like, trying to grieve over his mother, but it's such a small situation that this is kind of come up in. Shows how deep a lot of the issues they have kind of like lie. One side not respecting the other side's way of life. So I mean, she kind of gets her trial, and I guess to wrap up a long story, essentially the queen, because she's been told this even before now, like her high mage saying that we can't, like, as Jock kind of said in a sarcastic way, but kind of reality of what was going on there. He wasn't really happy with the situation with the humans, and also really was not happy with the situation with his sister marrying a human. Trying to, like, say that the people need I guess they need some order, and they need I guess they need to know their queen is like working on their best interest. So I will sit there and say that
also, like, they're also making assumptions in bad faith quite a bit, I think, in this, and that's kind of annoying to me. I really think there's a lot of bad faith assumptions that they make as they go through this, like that they just seem like they always assume the worst of her, and that's kind of part of the difficulty, that nobody's, like, she hasn't, like, established their faith in her, which is not necessarily fair to her, but she just, for better, whether it's her fault or not, like, they have not decided that they have faith in her.
You talking about the queen or
the queen? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, based on what I understand, she kind of just recently became queen. Now, that doesn't really take away what you mean. I understand.
Extremely, yeah.
But it doesn't take away from that. I'm just saying that I think she's new, and maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
And she has political opponents that are trying to pick her apart so that they can gain power on their own. And a lot of, like, bad faith sentiments in general, I think, that are kind of making this a more complicated situation than just, like, people hate her because she's involved. She's involved with a human.
I mean, I think it has. Yeah, at least if it has more to do with it, just doesn't help that she is trying to marry a human.
Not at all.
So
but they were looking for a target to pin on her, I think.
I think her brother was probably looking for a target, and he just happened to find his sister as an easy target, which we find out much later. But I would say leading up to that moment, I was getting a lot of Varen vibes from him, and I was like, are they going to do what I think what they do with him? And, like, yes, from what I've seen already, yes, they are. I guess another thing too, prying back into a previous episode for information. I don't know if we talked about this, but when they were doing their whole spiel of Erebos and telling us everything about him, they mentioned how he managed to do a lot of what he was doing, and essentially he's able to hold sway over people who use magic. So I thought that was kind of interesting in a really weird way. We did talk about
black magic. Apparently, especially black magic.
I guess he did say that. I guess I don't remember that. Huh.
Well, they treated Callum like he was a toy, and his justification for being able to do it was that he sensed dark magic in him, the influence of dark magic.
It'll be kind of crazy, not saying this is what it's supposed to be. It'd be kind of crazy if dark magic really isn't dark magic. It's some sort of other magic that no one really understands. Maybe it's maybe it's one of those types of magics that, like, for whatever reason, was tainted somewhere along the line because it got to humans, and it's just like maybe it's something completely different, because they do make mention over and over and over, and they really hammer this in. Erebos is really powerful. We cannot allow him to get into the real world. So it's like, maybe it's like, and especially, I mean, they make, later on, they mention that Erebos helped humans. Well, that was Claudia, but Erebos helped humans. I think he even said gave them access to magic, which I thought was also a really weird sentence to state. But I guess we'll talk about that later. But I just thought about that. I just had that really random thought. Maybe dark magic isn't really dark magic, quote unquote, but it's probably dark in nature because of how they get to use it.
Well, maybe Arvos will be a master of dark magic, and that's part of the problem. I don't know.
Maybe we don't know.
Maybe his magic is the same thing as dark magic.
I guess that's also another probably more probable assumption than what I just said. I don't know. I just thought it'd be kind of interesting because I think there, in some fantasy worlds, typically one power source that is viewed to be evil really isn't evil. It's just how it's how people are accessing it. It's kind of like firebending. Like firebending was thought to be was it thought to be anger, and then it was found to be courage that powered it. I think
it was found to be the power of life and not necessarily the power of anger. Yeah.
So I mean, firebending. Well, it was still firebending, and it was still really, really catastrophic to use.
For sure.
The way you generated it was vastly different. So maybe it's one of those situations like maybe Erebos taught them one way to use his magic, but in reality, it's something completely different.
You said but.
I was on a train. I was on a train there, and I got off it. I didn't mean to get off of it.
You're fine.
I already mentioned about. I think I already talked about Lucia, but it's best like unless you have more to add to that situation, but I don't. I guess we can talk about Umber Tor because essentially that's their next destination is to go there and meet with the dragon.
Umber Tor translates to Shadow Hill, which makes it even feel more like Mount Doom to me.
Is that the mountain you were referring to earlier?
The Fire Mountain, yeah. It's to me. There's a scene either in this episode or in a later one where it starts to really look like a parallel to Mount Doom to me.
It probably is. I think I said this before. I never watched the Lord of the Rings movie. So if there is any Lord of the Rings inspiration, I'll probably only get the Smeagol one, and maybe some of the trolls. Who knows? I don't really know. Not trolls, but dwarfs.
Well, here, I'll show you what Mountain Doom looks like. Looks like that.
Huh.
So it looks a little Umber Tor-ish, doesn't it?
Oh, if Umber Tor was like erupting with magma.
What?
Is it if Umber Tor was erupting? But yeah.
I think the scene I'm thinking of I think it's glowing, and it looks a little Mount Doomish off in the distance. There's a scene in Lord of the Rings where they show it from the human side of the world, and you can't really see that wasteland. You can just see it off in the distance, and there's all this grassland and stuff like that. And then you see it off in the distance, and it looks like a burning mountain way off out there. And that moment felt a little bit. I just remember that. I just remember it looked very much like Mount Doom.
I can see it. I guess I just realized something. Let's see here. They don't go directly into the mountain. I completely forgot about that. They had to go around it to find a secret entrance to Umber Tor's, I guess, main cave. Actually, I guess this is where we could talk about Soren's little wyvern journey. A little bit.
Yeah, he has a little side quest, except unlike Star Wars, it's relevant.
Wow. The gang essentially. Well, I guess we already talked about. Dang it, Zubeya. Zubeya kind of brings them down to down the mountain because she knows exactly where it is, of course. And then she essentially tells them that, well, the guys at the front that look like a little like a Gerudo, not Gerudo. Dang it! I did the exact same thing you did.
Sorry, Korea.
It looked like a crap. What's the name? Goron? A Goron and what the other guy is.
Yeah.
They open the door and then tons of rocks come flying out. Well, not flying out, tumbling out of the door. Apparently, you can't enter the front door, which is kind of funny, by the way. But of course, they have to go through a side quest to get inside. Essentially, they go through the woods where the Earthblood elves are supposed to be. And besides Terra, we get a look at some more Earthblood elves. Based on my first interaction seeing them, I'm like, huh, they seem more aggressive than like moon
Elves?
well, yeah, moon elves and fire elves for that matter. Fire elves are kind of aggressive, but I don't think like from our first interaction they were all that aggressive. Granted, I think now I'm thinking about it, a lot of the interactions we had with them, they were trying to fight and kill. So never mind. It's kind of interesting.
But I mean, like, take a number. Like, the humans are constantly fighting fairy creatures in this series. Is there a type of elf that they haven't fought by the end of the series, you think?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think is the type of elf that like Erebos is that type of elf rare? I don't think they met another elf like him.
Apparently, like when you're one of those elves, you're like a chosen one. So yeah.
They do say that. Yeah. Okay. But yeah. Apparently, this is the first elf I've seen riding a dragon because I don't think we've seen the other elf tribes like ride on dragons. So this is kind of interesting one that they actually tame dragons. They have a dragon guard. No, that's Rayla's group. Ex Dragonborn is the best way. I forgot the name of like the group, but they capture dragons, and it looks like they quote unquote feed them to a pit.
They're the Riders of Drakewood.
Yeah, Drake Riders. Okay, I guess that's the Riders of Drakewood. But we found out from Rayla that apparently these guys like capture dragons. And to keep at least Callum and Ezrin safe, they put up like a little campsite in the middle of the woods, and then Rayla and Sora go off to, scout out the area to see if they can't find the entrance. Soren and Rayla.
Did you notice, as well intentioned as Soren is here, I can't help but notice that Soren is fighting their culture. Like that this is another example of humans and elves like having a cultural distinguishment where like something that's not okay for one of the groups is revered and like time honored by the other. Like this is not like something they just started doing a few days ago. This is like to be accepted into adulthood in this universe, like you have to capture your own dragon. It's mentioned later. So there's another example of them like that cultural dissonance between humans and elves like clashing, where like in Soren's idea, like you can't catch dragons and keep them. Like you've got to respect them and save them, and they're sacred creatures. And they're like, well, we've been doing this way longer than I've been alive or my parents, and you're trespassing.
I guess that makes sense. I never thought about it like that. I wasn't even thinking about it like that in that situation. It's kind of weird because they kind of follow what was happening earlier with the trials. So, whoops, my bad.
Isn't that interesting though? I thought that was something I noticed. I'm like, isn't that interesting? Like now, it's another example of the clash, and someone being put to death for their transgressions against a people, but like ultimately, like they're the trespassers. They're the ones that don't like what's going on, and they're the ones fighting it. We are on their side, but we also happen to be the humans in this formula. So it's just very interesting to me.
I guess it's interesting. I didn't think about it, but that's interesting. I didn't even notice that. I just said Soren trying to be the good guy. Though you say that, and then he ends up like taming the dragon anyway.
Yeah, but except in his case, the dragon is willing and happy to help him, and not like being beaten by like an oppressor. But yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but like, yeah, I guess we could skip. Like, I mean, that entire ordeal we just talked about, Soren. Well, Soren and Raylet split up after they discovered that there was these Earth elves taking dragons out of the sky. Rayla's like, "Come on, we shouldn't be interfering with this." Soren, as we just discussed, thinks this is a bad. He interferes, gets caught in the tangle. Still loses the dragon, but I think they catch him too, and they toss him into the pit to be eaten by, I guess, the dragon Umbertor. But considering how big that dragon was, I don't think he could fit.
No, there was a wyvern chilling down there. They
But
caught
wasn't
him
it
and
the
they were
wyvern they caught? And I mean, like the one that he was trying to save. I mean, obviously, I mean, they
It's
were
the one
trying.
he befriends, but yeah, that's what's down in the pit. Nothing else.
Okay, I misunderstood what they were trying to feed down there. Okay, so they're trying to feed him to the wyvern, and essentially, they do a good job with like the light though shining off of Soren's armor. You would have never thought it was kind of like that shiny, but do a good job of showing you that apparently the light is bouncing off of it.
I liked that Soren overcame the situation by understanding the mind of what was once his greatest enemy, like a dragon. You know what I mean? Like, because he has a better understanding of a dragon, it saves his life and it helps him befriend it and get himself out of trouble. But had he not like been in a situation where he could have grown like that, he would have been eaten. You know what I mean? But he's like, wait a minute, I understand what you want, and like steps in and says, look, let's make this work. You know, I get it. You don't like the light. Let me flip that off for you. And there's sort of a cool moment of understanding with all that.
Yeah, actually, speaking on, like, I guess we can move on from that. Speaking of the whole time-honored tradition of catching dragons become a man, we introduced to a whole new Earthblood Elf character on the good side apparently, because Terry is on the side of Claudia and evil. Uh, I don't remember his name, but I guess this will happen this episode, does it? You say, yeah, that happens in episode 6. I guess we talked about the trial a little bit. I don't think there's any more unless you want. I guess a little bit more about the trial is the trial was really
the trial
weird.
was powerful.
Yeah, the trial was really weird though. At least on the council that walked in, because well, you don't find this until later. But one of the trial members is actually the wife of the queen's little brother. Get a wink and a nod at that's what's going on there, which shows, I guess, even more of like there's something not right going on here, and there's a plot, thickening, as it were, with trying to overthrow the queen. As again, I was like, as this was going on, I was getting some serious Varen vibes, and I was really only thinking about it too because of the whole. It's kind of weird that this is happening, and Erebos has had no contact that I'm aware of with any other person in this world other than Varen. Yeah, we have another person kind of doing, quote unquote, kind of what Varen was doing, trying to take control, the seat, as it were, the crown of, the king or queen. It's kind of weird that in Varen's case, she's been manipulated to do it, even though it was in his heart. In this case, as far as I know, Erebos has had no contact with anybody. I don't think there's a mirror or anything, or a duplicate of that mirror that Varen had anywhere else in that world. I mean, we don't know that, but I assume there isn't. It's kind of weird that he kind of doing the things without the persuasion involved. He was doing it himself. Granted, he has good intentions, but unfortunately, those good intentions are going to be overtaken by not jealousy, but
lust for power.
Well, I mean, the lust of power is already there. It's just going to get even worse. So, yeah, that was weird. That was like
over attachment to the old ways.
I guess that's a better way to put it.
Ezra's like, she's definitely like the Elf Nation's Ezra. Like she's trying to make her peace with the people and drive them to the right decision and combine justice and kindness together as like she works with them.
But this is another parallel to like the elves are no different than the humans.
Yeah,
Their politics are just as messed up as the humans' politics are.
it is. But it's interesting that at the head of the elves, at least this band of the elves, and that the head of the dragons um, share a commonality with Ezra. And you could, for a long time in the series, you can think Zubea is just really mild mannered and sweet, but then you see her when those golem things get in her way, and she's suddenly very like fierce and demanding and aware of her role in like the elven like the fairy creature society. And she's like, dude, you're talking to like your queen right now, you know, and I don't care what your problem is. Like you've got to bow down to my majesty. Like that's it. You know what I mean? And I think it's worth noticing that. You know what I mean? That like she wasn't sweet and kind for a second. She was like, no, absolutely not. Like she shows her like aggression when it's appropriate to show it. So she's not like someone that has to be a pacifist or has to be weak or is naturally always gentle. She just likes the human beings, you know what I mean, and is willing to be amicable and assume good faith and like, you know what I mean, not overdo it with them. Like, but that like kind of woke me up to that. I'm like, wow, like she doesn't have to be nice. She's a giant dragon and she's aware of that. So I enjoyed that little moment of like reality check. By the way, this is a giant deadly dragon that you're hanging out with.
I guess before we move on to episode 6,
FYI.
yeah, I know. That's actually I thought, but I didn't really think about it until just now. That woke me up. But I guess before we move on to episode 6, I want to just bring up. I've been saying that the world of the elves and just magical creatures in general with the humans has been on like this this seesaw. But then you have somebody like Amaya who realizes that she is a part of some of the upset right now within at least the elves right now, the fire blood elves, the sunblood elves, I believe, whatever, the fire elves. She realizes she's kind of the part of the she's a part of the conflict right now. But she goes into the trial, and it's kind of fun that she actually goes out and just admits it, that at first she came here to defend her, but then after seeing and hearing everything that she's already seen up to this point, she realizes that Lucia was in the wrong. And it's kind of funny that when Lucia hears this, her face kind of changes, and it's like she realizes, oh crap, I messed up.
She does, and that's like showing the worthiness of this leader, that like she's also the peacemaker that we need, and she's worthy of being king as in the same way that Ezra is. That like there's a book written by the author Liz Gilbert, and in that book there's a character that is a conqueror. He identifies himself as a conqueror, and later he says that a conqueror is not somebody that wins their people by force. It's someone that is able to change people so that they follow him. And you see her ability here to like be a conqueror, but in a different way than traditionally thought about. Like that she's got the strength to change people, which is not something that's very typical. And I don't know, it's just a good moment of worthiness for her, that like you see that and you're like, hey, it's going to be all right with her. Like she's going to be able to lead these people even though they're skeptical.
I mean, yeah, everything you said that was true. I was just like, I wanted to bring attention to that. It was like actually interesting in terms of like she realized where the humans were in the wrong, and she essentially said that that she'll take what she'll accept. As long as you're not going to kill her. Which, by the way, she does mention that to move on from here, we don't need to shed blood.
Mm-hmm.
So she definitely mentions that she doesn't want you to kill her, but punish her to the highest level of the degree, as you think is appropriate for what she's done. Which is funny that the level of punishment that you give her is just Lucia build a spot where they can do this ceremony, and it won't endanger the campsite, which is like,
or in other words, Lucia, show that you've grown. You know what I mean? Take this opportunity to redeem yourself. Show that you've grown.
Yeah, you can look at
Now that I understand, like now that you've brought me to understand what's going on here, like it would be an absolute waste to kill her. You know what I mean? Which is the logic of it. Like why would we kill somebody with such talents that through this trial has been transformed when we can punish her with something that combines with the opportunity for redemption. There's a lot of wisdom in her choice here, and it's hard not to respect what she's done unless you're just so mired in the old ways that like you're never going to learn anything.
Yeah, I can say it better than what you just said there. So I guess with that, I kind of already jumped into episode 6 accidentally because I was not aware that episode 6 and 5 really blended together for me. I didn't realize that I don't know what I mentioned that was in here, but oh yeah, Soren, making friends with the dragon, because the dragon did not like shiny things. This is episode 6. I think we begin with that, where you see Soren take off the armor pieces, because I think we ended the last episode with him in the pit. So like that happens. We see the armor pieces on the ground. We don't see where Soren and the dragon are because they're gone in that pit. But essentially now have the other half of the group. Rayla realizes that she might have messed up a little bit by leaving Soren by himself, but fortunately for what we already.
I think Rayla also feels incredibly selfish right now because the group is in peril because she didn't pick the most effective person to come with her because of her personal hangups.
I don't know if there's anybody else in that group that would have been better to go with her than Soren.
Callum.
I don't know, because it takes him. It's not like he can cast magic immediately. He has to draw a sigil.
Yeah, but Callum and Rayla have much more history of working together. And Rayla, I think, blames herself because she's like, if it was Callum, he would have respected my opinion. He would have gone along with me. We would have merged a little better. Soren, like, she abandoned him. Like, she didn't really, like... I think she got the feeling that she's like, I kind of neglected him because it wasn't my choice. You know what I mean? And now he's in trouble. And if I'd been a little more patient with him and you know what I mean, not been so hung up on what's going on right now, maybe the situation would have been different for her. You know what I mean? For everybody. And she made the decision to say, no, dude, you're on your own. Like, if you do that, I think she probably feels pretty responsible for how things are panning out. There's got to be some guilt involved. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, yes, she's guilty. I was trying to think of, I guess Colin. I mean, I just like thinking like in a situation like that, like at least Soren has a sword that he can like get in a tussle with if need be.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Callum isn't all that like battle hardy, but I understand you talking about like I mean they work better in a group. That's no doubt in that.
No, I mean she would have worked better, I think, with. I'm
also saying like she works better in a group with Callum than she does work better as like a 2-man team with Soren, which is what we've already clearly seen. She would have worked probably better with Soren, maybe. I mean, with Callum.
Jesus.
Is it tight?
Sorry about that. That was someone messaged me on Skype that only messages me like once a year.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
That happens. Now they're in a group together. Rayla, Callum, Ezran, and Bait, along with Rayla's little companion, are in a group, and now they're heading through the woods to look for Soren. They end up coming across the hole in the ground, even though Soren and the dragon are gone at this point. They're in there. I think before they get to that point, they get led there by the little Earthblood guy who I don't... Is it Kareem? No, that's not Kareem.
Kareem.
No, but the little Earthblood guy. I don't think that's his name.
Yeah. It's not Abdullah Jafar. Yeah, it's Kareem.
No, I'm talking about the little Earthblood guy.
You're not talking about... I'm not talking about him either. I'm talking about the little guy from the elves from the Drake riders that leads them.
No, I'm seeing Kareem tells Janai that snuffing out the candle is like igniting dry leaves. I was just trying to come up with the name of the little guy that they're with right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Nathan? Oh, yeah, Nathan? I don't even know how you pronounce that.
Nathan. I don't know if they say it straight out in the episode, but I did look it up.
Nathan. I guess all of this is like a little bit. Let's back up a little bit because I forgot that Zim joins them much earlier than I thought he did. Interesting. Zim ends up joining them after everything has transpired. He ends up flying in from the from the air. So I'm guessing. I know Zim couldn't have found this area by himself, so I'm pretty sure he must have tailed very far from his mother, so she couldn't see him.
Plus, he has that sort of connection with Ezra.
Well, I guess that makes more sense. Ezra, and he connected with Ezra, and he followed them down here, flew down, and jumped on Ezra, and there's a happy reunion. They're all like, some of them are probably shocked that he followed them, but I'm pretty sure not all of them were that shocked. Let's get a little peek into Ezra's connection with Zim, and he's able to just look through his eyes whenever he wants to now with Zim. Which is
I mean they celebrate Callum as being like the only living wizard, but like Ezra's definitely magical.
I guess it would have
nobody really
connect that. I don't know.
Ezra's very private about it, but he's clearly magical.
They look.
What's interesting too, while we're talking about that, that the dark magic uses things said in reverse. There's a moment much later in the series, and just keep an eye out for it because I think it's one of the last episodes, where Claudia casts a spell, and she uses Latin words instead of saying it in reverse. I don't know if that's an error by the animators or like something like that, but it seems weird because to be able to, the amount of thought you'd have to put into that, you'd have to look up the Latin.
I guess I'm just gonna come out with it. You talking about the episode where Claudia shows up and pretty much puts everybody to sleep, and she has a double spell going on at the same time.
Yeah, but she speaks in Latin there instead of saying something in reverse. It's really weird.
I might look at that episode again. I don't remember.
I'm only bringing it up now because they there's a slight chance if that was, like I said, you'd have to go way out of your way to look up something in Latin and still somehow forget that Claudia casts her spells as backwards language. So it made me wonder if there was some sort of subtle hint there that she was using a real person spell. You know what I mean? Like a real typical magic spell instead of something twisted.
I mean,
so
I guess before we go back on to the top,
my attention. Let me put it that way.
I know. I guess at the same time, Claudia is a really good sorceress. Don't tell me what spells she knows of and what spells she does not know of.
Mm-hmm. Except that humans flat out do not cast magic like that, theoretically, unless you're Callum, and in parentheses, also Ezra seems to know something, and you know what I mean. And now we have that moment with Claudia where did she just you know what I mean? And I don't know what to say about it, but it seems like it's.
I mean, Ergos got taught or something in those 3 years that Verena was out.
Yeah, I mean that could be a little teaser for the next season, that something's coming related to that. I just thought it was very interesting that they just sort of slipped that in there after being 100% consistent with it through every other episode. Plus, we've been watching her cast all sorts of magic lately.
A lot of Claudia's magic up to that point, stay with me. Wasn't a lot of it just her taking attributes of whatever she was killing in her magic and applying it to herself? It seemed like what a lot of that magic was. In that particular moment, it was neither of those things. It was mostly of an illusion combined with an effect, kind of. She literally walked in there. We're talking about something later on in the episode we're going to be talking about again regardless, but just to I guess get my thought out. the magic she was casting there was like not like really augmenting her. Well, I guess you can say he's augmenting herself because she was making multiples of herself to spread the attention, and then use the flute, which looked like an ocarina. Uh,
Totally.
then use the flute
Maybe you
to
just slip that in there.
put to. Yeah, it was kind of weird to slip that in there. It's like we're just gonna give her an ocarina. You're gonna ask questions later. Uh, um, then the flute, then the song she was casting, which could have been Song of the Storms, who the heck knows, but puts everybody to sleep, and interesting enough, puts the dragons to sleep first, and then goes to the humans. No, actually,
No, the dragon was the last to go. The only one that wasn't affected was Zim.
no, I thought Zen was okay. I have to go back and watch the episode again, but I guess it's just one of those things where like I think the magic she was using there was different somewhat to what she normally does. Because I remember when she was fighting that sky elf earlier on, the magic she was using. Now it could have just been a variant of whatever she's using, but the magic she was using, and I remember the magic earlier on was just her taking bits of an animal and using it on herself, like a snake, bat wings, like
Yeah, pieces of fairy creatures. In that case, she seems like she's doing something completely different.
like there is like it was that's just as I said before, it's like it wasn't any of what she was doing beforehand. So I thought, okay, you said that, I was like, huh, I wonder, like, and I started thinking about her magic at that time. I was like, it wasn't normal to what she was normally doing.
Yeah, there's just something off about it. Like I don't know if we're gonna learn more in like the next season or something, but there was something not typical about the way that was playing out.
But yeah, back on track because we do this apparently.
Well, can I point out something else while we're on this topic? I think that there's a pretty consistent theme in the series so far of preying on beautiful things. Like if you look at Sparklepuff, first of all, he's like a really creepy looking creature, but he's got this piece of beauty to him. Like he's really creepy and like wretched looking, but he's also like a beautiful butterfly creature and iridescent and glowing in the night and everything. And there's a moment that they take where he just eats a spider. And like you see this beautiful thing like eating a spider, and there's this really interesting like moment of juxtaposition from it where you're just like you just have to process that, you know what I mean, that he's just like this beautiful thing that's like eating spiders. And then you see Claudia, who's beautiful in her own way with a touch of terrible, come in and play beautiful music and, you know what I mean, take out a dragon. And then you just see these other moments where like beauty and evil are like kind of like crossing swords a little bit, you know what I mean, but like in the same moment. And I think it's really interesting how they just keep doing that, like that there's like they kind of interweave like the dark and the light very, very deeply in this. Like Erebos is gorgeous, you know what I mean, he's like probably one of the most attractive designs for a character in the series so far, but like you know that there's that undercurrent of evil. So I don't know, and just the idea of like the prey eating the predator too, like the butterfly eating the spider in the first place, has sort of like a cool like additional meaning to it that I'm very interested in. That like, you know, how interesting, like, you know what I mean, like he's eating something when he should probably be the one that's being eaten. So for what it's worth, I just thought I happened to notice that and thought it was worth thinking about.
I'm gonna let you finish, but don't cross the streams. Sorry. I'm sorry. I was holding on to that the entire time you were talking.
Just this beautiful butterfly creature eating a, like being darker than like it's supposed to be, and eating a butterfly to me just had like a lot of power to it. And you see that with Claudia, like almost like that's like almost a metaphor for Claudia too. That like, but you also see that with Erebos, like the predator prey relationship with him, like them, like Viren being one of the most predatory characters in the series, and also simultaneously being the prey of this beautiful thing. So if there's anybody like, if you think of Sparklepuff as Erebos and Viren as the spider, then you've got a really good metaphor for Erebos and Viren too. You know what I mean? Viren being the spider and Erebos being the butterfly. So I don't think that was out by mistake. I think they did that maybe not like to completely hammer it through, but like just to give you like a little bit of like something to process.
I mean, yeah, I just thought about it. I was like, I mean, in the real world, like in the kingdom, animal kingdoms, whatever, insect kingdom specifically, there are a lot of pretty things that. Hey, XOG, I didn't see you there. Yeah, we were going on almost 2 hours, 30 minutes. But at least from what I can tell in the insect kingdom, specifically, specifically, there are like a lot of pretty things that prey on the weak or like prey on something else. And I'm pretty sure there's examples of it everywhere in the world. But I mean, yeah, I guess you can actually as a I never really thought about it. I guess it's kind of interesting too, considering you said that with Claudia trapping everybody. I was like, that's where I made my decision. Like Claudia is messed up.
Yeah,
I didn't know she was capable of that kind of like. That's kind of the weird thing too. Claudia up to this point was kind of, as you said, bubbly, goofy. You know, you couldn't. I couldn't place her in anything, but that moment where like she just kind of showed up out of nowhere, and not only showed up out of nowhere, managed to completely neuter everybody in that room, even the dragon of all things.
Yeah, the dragon just after like all this time like building up lore about how powerful the dragon is, they just sort of like wipe it out. Like she one shots a whole dragon.
I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, they do that with Claudia. It's like, and then she also looks very nefarious while it's happening. I guess at this point, Claudia is so close to her goal that she's willing to do anything to get to it. Which I mean, I guess it's kind of the obvious thing with her at this point.
I think she's done so much at this point that it just probably hardly matters to her if she does a little bit more.
Thanks. Back. We gotta pull ourselves back, and also end the podcast soon. But we gotta pull ourselves back a little bit before he gets to that point. Nathan, I guess is how you pronounce his name. Nathan, we get a little bit of introduction to him when the dragon's getting chased. Apparently, Nathan sees Zim after he gets caught and trapped in the ground. After, well, not trapped in the ground, but trapped a little bit with his wings and everything like that. Rayla asks, well, no, I think Ezra asks Callum to do something about this to make it easier for them to find him. Callum casts a fog spell, which is kind of cool. That completely, like, you know, covers, like, you know, the entire area where, like, they were hunting dragons. Obscures the view of everybody. But Nathan apparently was close enough to Zim to find him. And they come up on Nathan before he's able to, I guess, take Zim wherever he's going to take him. It's really cool. He's like, you can't touch my dragon. He's like, no, he doesn't belong to you. He's mine, or you know, he's my friend and stuff like that.
You can't touch my dragon. You gay.
Dang it! Why?
Go ahead.
Why?
Words. Your wording.
I don't think I can word it anymore after that. What the heck, man? But yeah, I don't think I can word it anymore. They have their conversation with Nathan, and they kind of like, it's kind of weird that Nathan and I think Ezra are kind of like the same age. Granted, elves aging are probably different than humans, but they look close enough to age that I guess you can make an argument. But they have their conversation. Then Nathan tells them that he can take them to where the dragon, who I forgot his name, the dragon of
Igneous Rex. Igneous Rex.
Igneous Rex. They take him to like, you know, to get him to Igneous Rex. And he even, as he's talking to them about getting there, he even spreads in that you have to, you know, give him, I guess, gifts of sacrifice or something like that. I thought that's kind of funny that he
just tosses it in there.
He tossed it in there, but nobody recognized it. Nobody even talked about it.
He goes like, wait, what? And then they just changed the subject.
It was kind of weird. It's like, okay, we're gonna take you in there, and then he takes them in there. They see, like, Rayla sees the armor that Soren's wearing. Says, essentially, Callum's like reassuring her that, you know, he's smarter than he looks. He probably got out somehow. Lo and behold, they're right. Later on in the episode.
Who would have guessed?
But they go further into the cave, and he explains that there are separate dungeons, chambers that lead to they had to go through to get to Igneous Rex, and apparently nobody has gotten past the first one.
Which was bizarre because the first one was completely benign in my opinion, except that it was a really difficult puzzle, I guess.
Was it the crystal one? They had to touch the crystals and
yeah,
it
the first
resonated?
one was the crystals. Yeah.
Okay, so they get the
It's pretty
crystals.
benign.
I guess nobody would know what crystal to touch though, so hey, I don't know. Um, they go through the crystal puzzle, which we already kind of talked about earlier on in the podcast. Then I think it's the darkness puzzle. And that's puzzle, like just complete room of darkness that you have to like traverse without light, which is kind of funny because they have a living organism that does nothing but emit light.
Two of them, really, if you count Zim.
Well, Zim, we both can control it, but it's just kind of funny. Well, actually, three if you want to. When that living organism, there's a third thing. Apparently, Callum's staff that he took from the Sky Elf apparently just is a torch that he had to literally cover to like prevent it from emitting light. They pretty much go through this. They're on their knees and they're crawling through in the darkness, which is kind of funny. That all you can do is hear them, and because apparently light brings the enemy that's around the creatures around them to attack them. I want to say that at the time I was watching this for the first time, I thought one of them looked like Yakon from Dragon Ball, but I was wrong, and I only really made that connection because they like light for whatever reason. Like so like I was like, okay, maybe this, but nah, it kind of got proven wrong really immediately. But it was kind of funny.
I really like the ambiguity of them, though, that they're like, we don't know if they hate light or they eat light, and like they go on about that. I think that was kind of cool. Like the ambiguity of like they're spooky, but like we're not allowed to know everything about them.
We're probably gonna see them again at some point, I suspect. I don't know where or when, but I feel like I don't think they're just there. They're probably from that area, but they're probably not just there.
No.
It'd be interesting if that's were the case. So okay, we'll never see them again. That's kind of messed up. But speaking on that whole thing, after like apparently something happened. I think something happens. Bait gets shocked. He lights up. Then Zim gets shocked and lights up as well, and that causes everything in the cave to see them. We got a cool look at them. They were kind of interesting looking creatures actually. But they all make a beeline towards Zim essentially and bring Zim off the edge, and he falls into kind of like a Scooby-Doo moment. Falls into the hole, and it's like, well, I guess Zim's gone. And as they're all praying or closing their eyes in like a I guess a melancholy moment, they're all putting their hands on their shoulder. I called this means like you just see his paw on his shoulder, Esmond's shoulder. He's like, what's going on here? What you looking down there? It just, to me, it's like such a Scooby-Doo moment where it's like, it's clearly meant to be serious, but they also kind of undercut it with the humor.
Why do you think he lost his connection with Zim when he went down there? Like, why would Zim do that?
I don't think it was a connection loss. Considering that it's dark down there, I don't think he realized. I don't think he realized like it could have been connection, but I think maybe it's because it's so dark down there. Even Zim couldn't see. Now, why Zim didn't electrocute everything down there, remains to be seen. But it's probably because he was seeing why he was like, it was probably one of the situations like Zim was looking around but he couldn't see, and Ezra probably couldn't tell the difference between darkness and just not being seen. Now, then again, Ezra knows better than anybody his connection with Zim, so I don't know why he would have lost connection. Maybe Zim just lost his consciousness at that exact moment. But then again, why the heck did Zim suddenly fly back up immediately and put his paw on Ezra it was like all it happened so fast, so I don't know what was going on there.
And what did Green do to get immediately away from them where they couldn't come back at all and all of them were gone? That was another little plot hole where I was wondering if we were going to learn a little bit more about what really happened there. But for now, like the plot didn't want you to know.
Well,
something interfered with his magic, and then Zim did a something, and all of the monsters were gone, even though they probably were just capable of going up as down. like climbing up is going down, and we just, again, like they just sort of forget it, like in the same way that we just sort of forgot that they had to make a sacrifice. They just kind of they gloss by this. And I mean, I forgot about the sacrifice before it happened, and this was another moment where I was like, wait a minute, now I'm kind of like trained not to gloss things over. Like, why is this happening? Why is this a major plot point that just suddenly like inconsequentially goes away? And I don't know, it could be innocent, but it could also be like there's a little bit more to Zim that was revealed there than we're supposed to know yet, and we're going to find out why that happened in more depth later.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's the Dragon Prince. There's a lot that we don't. There's a lot to him in that title that we really don't know yet. Clearly,
Yeah.
saying that name holds a lot of weight anyway. Even more weight than the Dragon Queen. Which shouldn't.
Are you making a fat joke, sir?
No. Why would it be a fat
Why
joke?
Why are you talking about weight so much?
Moving on, we're getting close to the end of the episode here. They go through that door, and then they enter a heat lava area. And I guess instead of progressing because they wanted to, keep us waiting even longer, essentially Callum like makes a wind tunnel, which, funnily enough, the whole Avatar thing. I believe Callum makes a mention that he made this thing up himself. I'm guessing he had never used it before. It was very reminiscent of Aang's airball, the thing that Aang rides on sometimes in the Avatar series.
I don't really like to compare one series to another because you don't know if the author really meant to do that, and I just don't want to like make too much headcanon against the author and like screw up what they're trying to do. That's you. Do you see how dumb that sounds now?
No, I still think I have a point. It's just some things are just have more like connection than others. It does sound dumb. For me, I don't want to like, because I did a lot in the past with the shows in general, but then come to find out the author either didn't know this show, never even watched it, knew the creator, but didn't read or do anything regarding their art. It's just one of those things. As I say, sometimes it's accidental completely that they made a reference in their media and they didn't know about the outside influence. But see here. I guess after that, I guess Callum and Rayla and Callum had their little moment of explaining the issues going on with them, which is really weird. They decided to do this in a place with boiling lava, but I guess nothing was really. Was that episode 7? I might be skipping over. They had their little moment at some point. I don't know if it's this episode or the next episode, but you cut away as the episode's ending to seeing Soren making his way back to the camp, and he sees that everybody's gone, and lo and behold, somebody's sneaking up behind him, and it's Claudia.
Dun dun dun.
And those two are shocked to see each other, and that's where the episode ends. Those two were like kind of like really not short episodes, but we talked about them a lot here. As you can see, there's a lot to talk about with this show. The world is very engaging. More so than you would think on first glance.
They're putting so much into like building up plot right now. We have there's so many like suggestions that things are building up. Like there's Janae talking about the Sun Seed and how it's going to help them build a brighter future. There's there's the plots of Erebos continuing to come to fruition. There's I don't know, there's just so much background going on right now, and it's really interesting to watch how it's playing out. And there's so much promise for future episodes with all this building up. Like Ezra and Janae are both building for like a longer future. The sun seed is growing up. I want to know why they introduced the sun seed, and if that's going to be some plot device later on. Like, is it something Erebos is going to take over? Because we know that once you hijack like magic powers, like you take their power, So I'm very curious about that. And like again, like there's all these little Easter eggs, like the things that I've been telling you that like I see like presented that I'm wondering like should I be making note of this or am I making too much or too little? Like the fact that Janae had that mirror that looked a lot like Erebos's mirror. It's just like are they planting a seed here or am I reading too much in? And I think they want to keep you guessing and thinking like that, but like as I've mentioned in previous episodes, they're so mindful of like the details in this that I can't justify playing it under. Like I'm just like this series is too intricate to just throw a mirror in when they know how important mirrors are in this series, and have it not mean anything. So I don't know. There's just all these little moments, and it's like what's going to pay off? Like moments of like foreshadowing like that, but also moments of like great plot development. You know. So I'm very, very curious to see where all this stuff leads to, and like almost because you and I like disagree on foreshadowing so much, like I'm almost afraid to bring them up to you because I'm like he's gonna call me out and I'm gonna be wrong. But there's just all these little things, like I said, the spider, like the butterfly eating the spider, the mirror, the like all these other little things that I just keep coming across, and I don't know if they're false positives or anything.
I'm not like calling you out or anything. I'm just saying I just don't. I have a opinion. I have a disagreeing opinion. Now, a lot of times those disagreeing opinions are only there just so I don't try to think too far in the future and get proven wrong. Not that getting proven wrong is a bad thing, but it's just like I want to be able to experience it in the moment versus me having something already in my head. That's not going to happen.
Speculation is one of my favorite things to do with this, and that's why like I'm always pressuring you not to watch ahead of me if you can help it. With the different series, because I love to see like which one of us turns out to like have the best guess.
I mean, I'll do that with anime here and back, but I kind of more of a respect. Not saying I don't respect anime, but it's like I respect what they're doing here. It's kind of American based, not based. Not even really American created because the people have a little bit more.
Did you just say that Dragon Prince is based?
Okay, with that, we're gonna end it here. In all seriousness, I've already watched episodes 7 and 8. I will have to rewatch them. Purposely had not watched episode 9 yet because I remember. Actually, I think episode 8 was when all that stuff happened with Claudia and taking out the dragon. Ridiculous. So I probably have to watch those 2 to get a better understanding of what's going on, and that way episode 9 will be that much better when I do watch it for the first time. Well, that things are getting crazy. I think there's only 9 episodes to the season, so we're 3 episodes away. The next 2 will come whenever we're able to fit them into the podcast episode. I think My Hero is due to come back next week before I decide to end it here.
I can't wait. I love what's going on with My Hero right now. There's so much to like look forward to in general with all of this stuff. Like this is my favorite series of Dragon Prince by far. I don't know which one's my favorite for Dragon Prince, but like I'm really enjoying. Sorry, cool. My Hero, but like I'm really enjoying My Hero as well. So I don't know. I just really like this is like a really fun time to be watching anime.
And with the other anime that I'm like watching in the background, I'll probably have to return to recommendations at a later date. But yeah, it looks like January 7th, which is this Saturday, is when it's coming back. So we had one My Hero this week, but that didn't stop us from doing anything. So I guess with that, it's like almost 12:20 here. We're gonna end it here. This is the first episode in the 2023 new year. We'll continue to be here watching episodes of these shows and any new anime that we think is reviewable or deserves to be reviewed. And we will see you guys here.
Can I leave you with one last question?
Yeah, the audience.
Have you ever heard of like these string quartets that come out a lot now? There's a lot of all string bands where they're coming out with like music that's just all violin or all string music. Have you heard of any of these lately?
I'm aware of it. They take certain songs and they play them strictly on that instrument. Sometimes it's really beautiful, and sometimes it's really weird.
A really good example is Bond, and then there's Solar, which is another band that plays all string instruments, and then there's Break a Reality, and then there's that the one that does violin music but is like all like fangirl stuff. Like she cosplays a lot. Do you know the one I'm
I'm aware
talking
of a
about?
cosplayer that plays piano.
No, it's a cosplayer violinist. I'm trying to remember what her name is, but she's really popular. And then there's like four Asian girls that like all play it. It's like a really, it's like Lindsay Sterling is the one I'm thinking of. She dresses up in like cosplay and plays violin, and that's kind of like her thing.
I mean, I'm aware of people that do. I'm aware of things. I'm aware of groups so that do this. Sometimes I will listen to like a piece that they've done. If what they're doing
Well,
is something I'm interested in, but I don't normally seek it out.
just like I mean, asking you as a member of the community, like Lindsay Sterling, people like that, that only use string instruments, are they bassist?
But we're gonna end it here. That was probably the worst setup for a joke, and that took way longer. I don't think the payout was even worth it for you. Though, based on your laugh, I think it was worth it. So I'm gonna
Oh, it's
just
so
go
worth
on a
it.
limb.
I'm not sorry at all.
Also, I want to bring this up too because I actually did this on purpose for this particular podcast. I changed out the
Yes.
background image to Dragon Prince, considering that we were only talking about that. That was a purposeful choice. It will go back to My Hero next week, but I just thought anybody who's watching the video of this in the future, wondering why.
Are we like next week? We still have Dragon Prince to catch up on. What are we gonna do with that?
I don't know what you want. Do you just? I mean, I guess depending on the content of the episode coming out, if it's not something that I guess needs to be reviewed, we could do 7 and 8 conjunctively together. But again, I don't know what's in the content wise on that episode yet. I want to say, or we could go back to doing 3 episodes and it's just My Hero and then 2 episodes Dragon Prince. But
We could do 1 and 1 like without too much of a problem, right?
I mean, no, that should be too big of a problem.
I'm just thinking like, if we continue to do 1 and 1, like Dragon Prince isn't going anywhere. Like the season's done, so we could just pace out 1 and 1 with My Hero, and like eventually we'd get through it anyway.
I mean, I don't have a problem with doing that. That's what you want to do.
I'll do whatever you want. I just thought like our loyal, gentle viewers that like have been putting up with all my bassist jokes might want to know.
You're getting a lot of leverage out of that line. You shouldn't be.
You know, I set it up so hard and so long that like I feel like I've got to milk it now.
I don't think the payout you were expecting is there. I think it's all I really say. It's like, why?
But I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, I can tell. I can hear it. I think people can hear it in your voice. You're projecting how proud you are with that joke. I thought you were going somewhere serious with it, and then you said the bass. I was like, I fell for it.
I deliberately brought up Lindsay Sterling so that when I said as a member of the community, you'd think I meant like the cosplay nerd geek community, so that I could blindside you just a little bit more.
Yeah, with that, we're gonna just let the music play us out, and we'll talk to you guys next week on Monday.
Let the music play, it won't get away. Sorry.